I love monster tamers. Some of my favorite games are games that let you collect all sorts of freaks and geeks. I love seeing how unique each game is, both in gameplay and visual design. So like, what's up with Palworld? Palworld is by no means the first open-world monster tamer game. We had Cassette Beasts in 2023, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet in 2022.
Yo, I'm just recording footage for the video? Is that a shiny earthworm?
And Digimon World in 1999, which attempts something similar. It's also not the first open-world sandbox game. I don't need any other example than Minecraft. So what's unique about Palworld? What does Palworld do to stand apart from the crowd? What makes Palworld, Palworld? They gave them all guns. Yeah, a lot of the pals in Palworld can be ridden. And the big draw next to it, probably what you know the game for, are the guns. Which, honestly, is fine. Despite looking like an Unreal Engine 5 asset flip, the game is inherently cartoony. Guns aren't new to cartoons. Elmer Fudd, dude. Actually, if anything, the guns are some of the least interesting things about the game. The rest of the game, its flows and systems, are significantly more interesting and well designed than the guns are. I actually used a strong crossbow for most of my playtime so far, just because it had a strong enough output, and I'd always rather watch my pal fight than fight myself, just like any other monster tamer. Oh yeah, the pals. Some of them have really strong designs. Teefant, Wispa, Robinquill, Lunaris, Bushi, Duelith, and Yormantide, just to name a few. A few of them, though, are little,
Like, come on, dude. Like, that's undefendable. It is even the same eye color. It's the same fur color. This is bad, man.
This is probably the other thing that you know Palworld for. Before the official release, a lot of the designs were... well, that is just green Cinderace. Unfortunately, a few that needed redesigns didn't get any. Thankfully, Robinquill did, and it looked so much better for it, probably one of my favorite designs of the game, but it really shouldn't have happened at all. There's nothing wrong with taking inspiration. There's not even anything wrong with basing something on the same idea. Pansage and Tansy, despite both being monkeys with grass, are so uniquely different in their approach, it's not even worth trying to compare them. They did rip off the Pokemon art style, but they didn't rip off Pokemon's X Factor. Multiple design inspirations. They've got a few designs that are on a tier above others. Penking isn't just a penguin, it's a pirate. Vaylin is both a bug and a flower. Bushi is a wandering samurai. Some of these designs are very well done and super inspired. Then you've got stuff like Chickapee, which is just a cartoon chicken. Ruby, which is just a fire deer. Dire Howl, and that's just a wolf! That's not to say no other monster tamer has ever done just an animal.
齐天大圣
From Persona is just Sun Wukong, and Trifinx is just a tripod from War of the Worlds. But those are much more acceptable. Most of, if not all of, the personas in Persona are based on real mythology. Loki, Goemon, and the Necronomicon are all personas. Cassette Beasts has a similar thing, where a lot of the beasts are based on myths or other media. Flapwoods is based on the Flatwoods monster, Robindam is based on Robin Hood, Tokusect on Tokusatsu. A lot of Palworld designs are just missing this spice. A dragon, a sheep, a wild boar. They're these basic, simple concepts that Pokemon like Stantler and Rattata are based on. Not outright bad, but severely lacking when put up against some of its peers. I do find it intriguing how a lot of the most interesting PAL designs are just sort of ripped from Pokemon. You saw Green Cinderace earlier, but how about not Salamence? Or how about Egyptian Lucario? Goodra with Meganium Flower? I want to like most of these designs, but you can so clearly see the Pokemon inspiration and it can feel dirty to like them. It's also not just parallel thinking. Dazzy might look like a ripoff of Thundurus, and whilst you wouldn't be entirely incorrect, it also seems to be inspired by Raijin, the same thing that inspired Thundurus. I do think there's a lot to criticize in the designs here, but you need to make sure you're criticizing the right things. I only realized Palworld released because of not Kyogre, and yeah, that design is doing everything in its power to be not Kyogre. So let's talk about where the game does succeed. The systems. Palworld has a shockingly well-designed set of systems. Each one feeds into each other so perfectly. I'm shocked a game that looks like this has systems this good. To start, catching. You get PAL spheres to throw at the PALs, and it shows you the exact percentage chance you have to catch them, and sometimes a sphere won't work at all if a PAL is too strong. This is really good. A problem I've had with a lot of monster tamers is that I have no idea how easy or hard something is to catch, and outright showing the percentage makes it so wonderful. The game also encourages you to catch multiple of the same PAL, 5 in total. Each capture, up to 5, gives boosted XP, and the 5th gives you an effigy, which feeds into other systems. The XP you use to level up, unlock more technology points, and each level allows you to progress further by unlocking more stuff. There's small, fun decoration items, which I'll be honest, I have not touched. And then there's the important progression items. Electricity, farms, furnaces, weapons, and armor. There's a lot of stuff for you to uncover, and I'm only about level 50 after 25 hours of playtime, so there is plenty to discover. The effigies are obtained from either small statues hidden around the world or from catching 5 PALs of the same species. There's a bunch of different kinds, and each one has their own effect, ranging from increasing your walking speed to increasing your catch chance. This encourages you to explore and discover more. Explore this massive world. I am genuinely impressed with how much of the map that there is. Whilst it might not always look good, and I wouldn't be surprised if most of these assets are pre-made, that's not always a bad thing. Using pre-made assets is totally acceptable and only look out of place when art styles clash, like they do in Palworld. However, exploring this world is really fun. I've not played a ton of open world games. I generally prefer more streamlined level design, but one complaint I've always had with them is that they feel empty. Large, open plains of the occasional thing to look at, but for the most part, it's just set dressing until you unlock the next fast travel point. In Palworld though, there's always stuff to do and look at, and I think that comes with being a monster tamer. Not every monster you see in the wild will be hostile, so they're allowed to just put a lot more out. Not even that though, but there's also floor loot. Stuff like PAL spheres spawn, even to higher tier ones, so if you brave higher level areas, you can find higher quality PAL spheres, which have a higher percentage to catch PALs, giving a big risk reward incentive. Do you risk running into the more dangerous area for better loot, but risk dying to the higher level enemies and losing it all? This is by no means a new idea, but it's something that I really like.
Suited, you should start saying heebie-jeebies.
So unsettling, man.
Mick, can you start whipping out the zoinks?
Like, zoink!
Yeah. Is that good?
Zoink! Big shot? You want to act like a big shot?
I can do better.
Big shot? Big shot?
Like, SpongeBob Big Shot. I'm gonna go get a
SpongeBob Big Shot pants? Okay.
Dude, I'm gonna. There's a big shot in my pants, man.
Hey man, nice.
So, sure, yeah, system's cool and all, but like, what is there to actually do in Palworld? What's the goal? Personally, as a collector, I find the most fun in hunting down new pals to fill out the Palpedia, and then hunting down 4 more to max out the XP gain. However, Palworld actually has a story. It's nothing crazy, pretty much just an excuse to get you from point A to point B, but anything is something. The game is also full of side quests that I haven't really paid much mind to. There's one I'm trying to work on where you have to find these old animal bones for something, but I haven't completed it yet at the time of recording, and I hope it's cool. I assume this is for one of the legendaries of the world, but who knows. The main story sees you traveling to these large towers for mediocre boss fights against a damaged sponge pal being controlled by a person. Pal tamer battles, basically. Unfortunately, they are just big versions of the normal pal with more health, so they're functionally no different than any other wild boss you'd stumble upon in the open world. So, let's talk about the combat. It's okay. Obviously, the most fun is when you're riding a pal and controlling it, but it feels like the combat is designed for you to fight alongside your pal rather than on it. Some pals get unique saddles that allow them to wield weapons, like for example, Grizzbolt gets a minigun, but I've always just preferred the normal moves. The combat really isn't anything special. Pal moves are either sniping and hit you no matter what, or so ineffective you just get free time to whack them. You are so heavily encouraged to fight from a distance due to all the ranged weaponry, so anything that doesn't really match that feels suboptimal. Even the Pal's moves, from what I've been able to mess with, it feels like the strongest ones are the ranged ones. It leaves the game to feeling more like a shooter than a monster tamer when it comes to fights, and that's really disappointing for me. I understand that they don't want turn-based combat, which is the norm for the genre, and I can respect that, but I do think the game could do with some good balancing to make melee a lot more appealing of an option. I'm pretty sure the best sword in the game is the Meowmere from Terraria, which is effectively a ranged weapon anyway. The way that you make and obtain weapons is by crafting. The crafting sucks. I'm glad it pulls from all the resources in your base instead of just your inventory, but that's about the only positive. You need to make a bunch of big custom things in order to make certain items, and the crafting itself takes time. Normally, it's not too long, and pals can help speed it up, but sometimes it's abhorrent. I went AFK while baking these cakes for so long that the base got raided, and by the time I noticed, the pals working at the base had already beat off the intruders. And then there was the time making this rifle took 21 whole minutes. It is way too time consuming and does not respect the player at all. Thankfully, pals can work on stuff while you're away from the base. Mining, planting crops, crafting items, and even some stuff you can't do, like smelting ingots. Unfortunately, they do it at such a slow speed that if you aren't doing it yourself, it'll likely take twice as long or longer than it would have otherwise.
Hey man. Hey man. Nothing? It's okay, man. Dude, there's nothing wrong with trying. You're better than this. This isn't who you are. What a ragdoll, man. Why is that the interaction that happened? Why is that what happened there?
Overall, Palworld is just a really weird game. A lot of the core aspects you'd expect to be a slam dunk, the designs, the combat, the elemental system, are pretty bad or non-existent. In fact, I don't even know if this game has an elemental system. Pals have types, but I've never seen a move be super effective or anything. And then the stuff you'd expect to be just okay are really, really good, like the catching and leveling and exploring systems that all feed into each other, and the natural health regeneration. How exactly do I talk about this game? But I can't just say, I like Palworld, because I need to add like 4 asterisks next to it. Normally, going into a game, I either expect I'll like it or dislike it. Sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised, but most of the time I'm pretty accurate. Palworld is one of the games that I like a lot more than I expected, but I still have some pretty big issues with it. I doubt that now, after the 1.0 release, we'll see any major graphic overhaul or PAL redesigns, but hey, crazier things have happened. So there you go. There's my thoughts on Palworld. I do think that if it seems interesting, then you should give it a shot. However, if you've been put off, then I get it. It is for sure a very weird game. I do think it's at least worth trying before completely writing it off though. It has some severe flaws, but also some great successes. Seriously, it's worth trying. And this is where I'm gonna end the video. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I've got some good stuff coming up soon, including the promised Unbeatable video. I swear, it's coming. I'm working on it.